Martin with Epic Property Management. This is another vlog of the Epic Adventures in Real Estate. Last week's episode was a real popular one where we interviewed Cody talking about his experience thus far as a real estate investor. If you didn't catch it, go back and watch it. But it was very popular. We had a ton of views, and people reached out and wanted to hear more. So I had a visitor at my house today, and I thought, why don't we ask Josh to tell his story? But before I take away from his story or anything, Josh, introduce yourself, please.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Ethier. I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much, Matt, for having me on your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So Josh and I go way back 10 years. I met Josh while he was still in high school. We worked together at a bank, and we've just grown to be great friends out of that work relationship. And it's been a great relationship that I respect quite a bit, and Josh has become a great part of our life. So I thought we would take this time for Josh to tell his story about real estate. So Josh, tell everybody where you are right now. How many properties do you own?
So at this point in time, I currently own one property. It's a two-family that I'm not living in, but I actually have a second property under agreement. So in about 40 days or so, I'll be moving into my second.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
right?
crossed.
Fingers crossed. So let's take it back to before you bought your first multifamily. What got you interested?
So hearing you talk about it daily was really amazing because I got the inside scoop of what works, what doesn't work, and how to make money without actually having to go to work a 9 to 5 every day, which is pretty cool. Being able to buy a property and have it work for you. So I appreciate all the insight that you've given me and the way you've gotten me into this.
Sure. So let's talk about some of those things that maybe I talked about, or things that you remember that sparked your interest before you bought the first house. Like, what got you there to just be like, shit, I'm going to do this?
So I was lucky enough to have you around because you would show me the numbers and run through, and you showed me how to make it so that I can live in a house and have somebody else pay for it for me. And that's really my inspiration right there, is being able to live for free, the freedom to do anything that I want. So
absolutely. And that's really what the goal is, the financial freedom of what real estate can do. So let's talk about your first purchase. Where, we don't have to say the address, but where is the property?
It's in Manchester, New Hampshire.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about the journey. How many houses did you look at before you got to this one?
I've looked at dozens before then. It was a challenging process. You would find a property, you'd fall in love with it, and you'd put an offer in, and then you get outbid. Then you would go the next day and repeat the process, and so on and so forth. At what point do you need to realize, okay, it's not, you don't need to be emotionally attached to the house. You don't need to see what makes sense financially. And I found a house that the numbers made sense more than falling in love with it. And luckily that stuck.
Good. So when you found this house, let's talk about the financing. Did you do traditional financing? How did you get a loan for it? Was it FHA?
So originally I was going to go FHA, but to be more, be able to be a stronger negotiating tool, we went conventional. Very good.
So about how much percentage-wise was that down?
It was 5% down.
Okay. So not a big difference between 3.5 to 5. And it probably saved you a lot of money in closing costs at the same time. So that was a smart move. So like you mentioned before, it was a two-family in Manchester. Was the house vacant? Did you inherit tenants? Let's talk a little bit about that.
So one unit was delivered vacant, and the other unit had tenants that were already there. They asked if they could stay. They were great, so I still have them to this day.
Good. So you inherited them. What was that like? Because I think when you inherit tenants, you don't get to vet them the way you normally would. You don't get the background checks. You just get them. So how was it with them in the house, and how has it been so far?
It was a little nervous at first for me because I wasn't sure what I was walking into, if these were going to be great people, if they were going to all of a sudden stop paying rent, make me nervous because, like you said, I didn't get to vet them. I don't know their financials or anything like that. Luckily, they turned out to be great people. They pay rent on time. Very respectable.
Good. And then your unit, I know I saw it. It's beautiful. Talk to me about the unit that you got to move into.
So the unit that I moved into was Three bedrooms, three bathrooms. It was the renovated one in the building, which was nice. Um, as soon as I moved in there, I knew I had to move out because that was the unit that was going to be producing more than the downstairs unit.
Sure.
So I stuck it out for about 6 months or so, and I moved out, moved closer to work, and rented that one out.
Excellent. So your unit that you were renting, how long did you live there before you did move out of it?
About 6 or 7 months.
Okay. And during that time frame, what was it like living with a tenant below you being the owner?
I mean, it really didn't have any impact. It was just kind of like living with a neighbor. They didn't bother me at all. I didn't bother them.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear. I know a lot of people are reluctant or nervous when they move into a house and they have a tenant because what's very difficult mindset for people to think of is that for us as investors, this is a business. But we have to always remember that to the tenants, this is their home. So
Right.
it's this fine line that you have to walk back and forth and make sure that you're respectful of. So how did you learn to do that from day one? Was it just you being you? Like, kind of, what
Well,
was that like?
the first day, I went up. I just introduced myself, and I just kind of felt them out and see how they like living there. If there was anything going on that I should know about, and they really appreciated that I did that. To ask me if they needed anything, and I kind of asked how things were done, like where they normally park and things like that, just to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes.
That's great. And I think you approaching them with what can I do for you is really important instead of what are you going to do for me?
Right.
People are much more acceptable to a new relationship that way when they realize that you're actually there to work with them and not put them on the street as the new owner because there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of tenants when that happens.
Right. I definitely looked at them as a neighbor rather than my tenant, and they really appreciated that.
Good for you. So how long has it been since you moved out of that house?
I moved out in the middle of May.
Okay. And since then you put tenants in there almost immediately, right?
I had tenants ready and a lease signed before I actually moved out.
Good for you.
I didn't have a place to go actually, so I stayed with my sister until I found a place.
You know what? You did what you had to.
Exactly.
Good for you. And let's talk about what that process was like. This is, I know in the past you've helped me fill apartments and go through the process, but you really drove this one. Why don't you talk about the process of finding tenants in the experience of what it was like?
So it was really cool. I made a post on Facebook, and I made a post on Zillow and apartments.com, just saying apartment for rent, put up some pictures and a little description, and immediately I had tons of responses, people wanting to see it. And then the next day, it was convenient because I live there. I probably had 40 or 50 people come through, a bunch of people apply, and it was cool because I got to really talk with them and understand what their goals were and if they're going to be living there a long time, if they're kind of loud people or respectable people, what they do for work. It was nice.
Good. Now, what you put it on Facebook, how did you vet these people? What was your process for this?
So when they were asked to come and see it on Facebook, I let anyone come and see it.
Okay.
And then from there, they would fill out the application. We would view the background check, the credit score, the income, and things like that.
Okay. And what were some of those things you were looking for in the background check?
So we're making sure that they don't have any delinquencies, they don't owe anything to anyone, they're paying their bills and things like that. Make sure that there's nothing on their record.
Good. So you put the tenants in there. I'm assuming the house is cash flowing positive afterwards, correct?
Yes.
All right. So what that means, if somebody isn't aware of that means that the tenants are now paying for the entire mortgage, and I'm assuming it's cash flowing above and beyond.
Correct.
All right, good. So that means that Josh isn't just doing this for free. Josh is getting a paycheck from this now, which is really the goal of what you want as an investor. So let's talk about when you were living there. Before you moved out, let's rewind just a little bit. Because you were an investor, what were some of the things that if you think back to when you first moved in or any of the processes of any of the time that you were living there, what's something that you wish you knew moving in that you know now, but not then?
I wish I knew how well it was going to cash flow. I would have never moved in. But it was great being able to live there and like learn what the building has to offer, if there's anything wrong with it, how to remedy it, rather than the new tenants just calling saying, oh, there's a problem with this. I might already know what's going on.
That's smart. All right, so you moved out of May. You lived with your sister for a little bit with her family. She's great.
Lived in her dining room.
Yeah. Could be worse.
Yep.
Let's talk about what you moved into.
Okay. So I was looking for something pretty quickly at that point because it's not sustainable to live in a dining room. So I was looking for a rental anywhere really that was kind of closer to work. I didn't really want to do the hour commute anymore. So I found a 2-bedroom apartment in Bradford, which was nice. I knew it wasn't going to be long term. So really it was just whatever I could get my hands on at the time.
Good for you. And how's that worked out so far?
Not bad. It did its job. I wasn't homeless, and now I have a new place to move into.
Good for you. So let's talk about your process of looking for property number 2, because it didn't just start. This is something, and I said this to Josh just a little while ago. If Josh walked away from the process and everyone heard his story, I don't think many people would say, why haven't you bought number 2 yet? So let's rewind to as you started looking for house number 2. How many houses have you looked at?
Honestly, I can't count. There are so many. I can't even count the offers that I put in this year. It's crazy. Everything has been over asking, no contingencies. We're waiving inspections on a lot of things. We're trying to be as unique as possible with our offers, and it's been challenging because people are coming in with cash offers, and no one's going to turn down a cash offer, unfortunately.
Now, you've made it very close to closing on a couple houses.
I have.
Like literally days up to the closing that have fallen apart on you. And one of them, let's not get into it because the legalities involved, but maybe high level we can talk about some of the things that you've experienced going through this so far.
Sure. So one of the first properties that I was going to close on, this home I was trying to go with an FHA loan, which is first time home buyer, which obviously there are higher standards that the home needs to meet. This home did not meet those standards, so we were going to make some capital improvements to the building so that it could pass as FHA. We made the improvements, and when it was time to close, the tenants were still there. They have not been evicted at that point, so I couldn't close. So that's pretty much all I can say about that one at this point. But it just shows you that there can be a curveball at any time, so kind of expect the unexpected. The second instance was really a know your team kind of scenario. I got a lender that wasn't vetted properly on my part, I would say. So it's really just knowing that you have a team in place that's able to do what they say that they're going to do.
Absolutely. And I know there's a third one.
Yes.
Oh, this is the one, high level. Let's just talk about the third one without diving in because it's still pending.
Which one's the third one?
The deck.
Oh, that was the first one.
Oh, that was the
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But now that you say that, there was actually a third one.
Yeah.
And this one was a condo, and I actually forgot about this till just now. We got pretty close, and then they let us know that there was a temporary conservatorship over this property, so the person selling it wasn't actually their property yet. I don't know how we got this far in the process, but obviously we had to back out or wait for it to go through probate and whatnot. So I respectively rescinded my offer at that point.
And it was definitely the right thing to do.
Yes.
Yes. So let's talk about this new house. We won't talk about the location. We can talk about the city, but let's talk about how you got to it and your experience thus far, because you're in the process of it.
Yep.
But let's just talk about that process and where you are. First, let's talk about financing. FHA, traditional, what are you doing?
I'm actually going FHA on this one.
Okay.
Yep.
So the 3.5% down.
Correct.
Okay. And go.
All right.
Let's hear it.
As you know, it's been a difficult process. So I was talking to my agents, and I'm like, hey guys, we need to figure out what to do. This has really been a long process, and my offers aren't getting accepted. What should be done? And they said, try to take a step back and look at properties that have been on the market a little bit longer, things that people have passed up. So I found something that's been on the market for about 40 days. It's a little bit older of a home, so I think that scared some people away, it worked out great for me. We actually had the home inspection yesterday. A few things came up that we're going to have to address, but we'll deal with that when the time comes, and hopefully we'll be going full speed ahead from there.
Good. So how many units is this building?
This is a two-family.
Okay.
So one unit is 4 bedrooms, and the other one is one with a possible second.
Okay. And who are you inheriting? Are you inheriting tenants? Is it empty? Talk a little bit about where you're at.
So we're still working out the process of that. We are possibly inheriting one tenant.
Okay.
Yep, and then one will be vacant.
Perfect. And you said you're about 40 days away
Correct.
from closing. Good for you.
Yep.
Well, fingers crossed that it all works out for you.
Thank you.
And you mentioned something a few minutes ago that I think is really important that we should elaborate on just a little bit, is know your team. Let's talk about the team of people that you have found that in the process of you vetting them to feel good about them. So like your agent, I definitely think she needs a shout out because she's pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, Molly Smith, absolutely the best, and Lisa Savision. The two of them together are absolutely amazing. They're unstoppable, and a huge thanks to both of them. This wouldn't be possible without them. I've been working with them for probably about 2 years now. They helped me find my first home and all of the other ones in between, and now this one as well.
Yeah.
They've really brought a lot to the table, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, they're out of Compass and Andover, Mass. So if you're looking, they're hustlers. They got me my house I'm living in right now, and I appreciate that. So thank you guys if you're watching. Let's talk about who else you have on this team where you said that that's important. Who's a lender maybe that you're using that you've enjoyed, or a person that you have around you?
So I have a new lender right now. I'm actually going through Rocket Mortgage,
Nice.
Which is pretty great. They have some great specials if you're an Amex customer. So they've been helpful throughout this process. But my attorney as well. He's been great.
Good. Now going back to Rocket, I use them for one of my houses, and they were phenomenal. Super easy to work with. They made everything super convenient with their technology. And if you guys are going to explore Rocket Mortgage, make sure you use Josh's name based on this video if he's referring you to it, because Josh will get a bonus just like you will if you refer it out after you do your closing, and that's important. Cut costs everywhere. Now the attorney that you're using, let's talk about that person. Why did you choose this person, and talk to me about your relationship with him or her?
So this is a gentleman that I met through banking. He was one of my customers. His name is Brian, and he's helped me on my first closing and everyone that was supposed to happen in between. He's a respectable member of the community and whatnot. So it's been great to trust him. He's been very good to work with.
That's great. Now, as we wrap this up, Josh, and your phone's ringing.
Let's rock
Life
it
happens.
right now.
That's awesome. Timing, right?
Yeah.
As we're wrapping this up, what's a piece of advice if somebody is at the beginning stages of saying, I want to invest in property. I want to take this step. It could be before you get into it, and you can attest to this, how scary and daunting it can be and overwhelming. What's a piece of advice that you can give to somebody that's in that place right now of, I want to do it, but I'm afraid to?
Well, a few things. Number one is know your numbers. Make sure that everything is going to work out. You want to make sure that you know what your mortgage is going to be up front. You want to know what your closing costs are going to be. And you want to have a little buffer just in case on closing day taxes come in different or something. So know your numbers. And also just do it. If you sit back and wait, prices are going to go up, and then you're going to say, man, I wish I bought this last year when it was $50,000 cheaper. I would highly recommend jumping on it. If you think you could do it, you can do it, because I've done it. So
that's great, Josh. Well, thank you for coming in and talking. I hope this helps somebody. If there's anything you'd like to cover in the future on one of our vlogs, please let me know. In the meantime, hit subscribe so that way you know when all of our new videos come out. Have a great day. Thank you, Josh, for joining us. Josh's link on social media will be in the bio and the information here. So if you want to follow Josh's epic adventures in real estate, you can definitely hit him up on social media, follow him, and watch what he's doing and keeping tabs on him. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching.
take care.
Bye.